Hello and welcome to the 49ers First and 10 podcast presented by Cisco. 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Brianna McDonald, and joining me is 49ers team reporter, Lindsay Pilares. After Sunday Night Football in Buffalo, the 49ers are standing at 5-7 following a hard loss to the Bills. The result isn't what the team worked and hoped for, but it's back to business in Santa Clara today, as it's currently the morning of the team's first practice back this week. Lindsay, there were a few injuries that emerged out of the Week 13 game, impacting the team in a big way. Also, a few roster moves since that game against the Bills. Just what should the faithful know before heading into the team's first practice back today?
I think the first thing we have to address is that the 49ers running back room is going to look drastically different in week 14. And that's because of some unfortunate injuries, which has kind of been the trend of the 49ers season in 2024. Unfortunately, Christian McCaffrey, who was in his fourth game back, coming back from Achilles tendonitis, actually suffered a new injury, a PCL injury in the second quarter against the Bills. He didn't return to the game. He was actually placed on IR yesterday. The rough recovery timeline on that PCL injury is 6 weeks. And then also, which was a little bit of a surprise, is what head coach Kyle Shanahan described, an injury to Jordan Mason. He suffered a high ankle sprain. He's expected to land on the injured reserve list, which would keep him out for a minimum of 4 games. That roster move has not taken place as of Wednesday morning when we're recording this. And then also, for Kevin Givens, the defensive lineman, he suffered a pec injury, will also be placed on injured reserve. Again, that roster move has not happened just yet, but again, we heard it from head coach Kyle Shanahan. It will happen at some point this week. That means, like I said, the running back room looking a lot different. Isaac Guerendo, the rookie running back, 4th round pick, is now RB1. The 49ers also expect to elevate Patrick Taylor Jr., and they also added a running back, a transaction that happened on Tuesday. They claimed Izzy Abanikanda from the Jets, the New York Jets. He was a 2023 5th round draft pick, so he's going to be rounding out the 49ers running back room. He's a young guy out of the University of Pittsburgh. One thing I'll say is he has good straight line speed. He ran a 4.45 40 time. He appeared in 6 games in 2023, has been inactive for all the games this year. One thing to note is that he was playing behind a pretty strong Jets running back room that had Breece Hall and Braylon Allen this year. So I think it was tough to break through in that room. Could be different now that he's headed to the Niners, especially given the injuries. And unfortunately, I have some other updates because the 49ers injury list is long. Defensive lineman Jordan Elliott still in concussion protocol. Left guard Aaron Banks also still in concussion protocol. Linebacker Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is day-to-day with his knee injury that kept him out of the Week 13 matchup. On a positive note, defensive back Deommodore Lenoir, who banged up his knee in the game 2 weeks ago. He's expected to return to practice later today, so I'll have an update on that. Defensive lineman Nick Bosa, dealing with a hip and oblique injury, is going to be evaluated as the week goes on. Same story for left tackle Trent Williams, who's battling an ankle injury along with a personal tragedy. So again, the 49ers are banged up headed into this week. It's obviously not how they would have liked to enter this week, but they are making the moves necessary to set themselves up for this upcoming matchup.
Well, in terms of making waves and some positive updates out on the practice field, it looks like safety Talanoa Hufanga, who was dealing with the wrist injury, he will have his practice opened on Wednesday per Kyle Shanahan. Also, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, who's coming back from that Achilles, looks like he's continuing to practice. What are some of the positive updates on the defensive side?
I think for team morale, having both those guys on the practice field is so incredibly important. We had really good initial reports from the locker room just saying the immense amount of energy and enthusiasm that Dre Greenlaw brings to the practice field, I would imagine it is the same for Talanoa Hufanga, who has been a really important starter for the 49ers. And for Hufanga, this is actually the second major injury he's coming back from in 2024. He came back from that ACL tear that he suffered in week 11 of the 2023 season, was back in time to start the Rams game in week 3, and actually only had 2 starts before suffering a wrist injury in week 5 that had him placed on injured reserve. So he should have his practice window open on Wednesday for Dre Greenlaw. This will be his second week of practice since having his practice window from the physically unable to perform list. He started on that list because he suffered that Achilles injury in the first half of Super Bowl 58. I think it's going to be just a great morale boost for the Niners and certainly much needed as they continue to battle a pretty big laundry list of injuries.
Yeah, given the number of injuries to monitor throughout this week and the coming weeks, one position group I do want to highlight is the offensive line. Aaron Banks is still in concussion protocol, and he's been, an anchor for the O line at left guard and a key player in the Niners' run game. But Ben Barch has had to step into his place while Aaron's been out due to injury. So, how has Ben Barch been holding up there, and what does the team think of his performance so far?
Yeah, Ben Barch got really great reviews after starting on Sunday Night Football against the Bills. And like you mentioned, this is someone that's definitely important to keep an eye on, especially as Aaron Banks, who has been the mainstay at the left guard position for the 49ers O line, he still remains in that concussion protocol. Obviously, we will get updates on him as the week goes on. But if for some reason he can't go, I would imagine it would be Ben Barch getting the start again against the Bears. I think one thing to note is that against the Bills, the 49ers were very successful in the run game. 27 total carries for 153 yards. A good run game is always a good reflection of good O-line play. So that is a silver lining to take away from week 13. And head coach Kyle Shanahan said he was impressed by Ben Barch. He's known that he has had the ability. They haven't been able to see him play a lot of significant snaps, but the takeaway from this game is that Ben Barch did a good job.
Nice. Well, after long weeks of travel, we've gone to Green Bay, then traveling to Buffalo, both dealing with very extremely cold environments. How's the importance of home field advantage heading into week 14 against the Bears?
I think just given the amount of injuries that the 49ers are dealing with and not having to do that very strenuous cross country travel, I think is a huge relief. The 49ers can spend Saturday at home in their own beds, and really be able to get to the stadium and not have to, travel in order to do so on a Friday like they usually do. So I think it's going to be huge. Obviously, the support of the faithful is always really huge. Not to say that the faithful did not travel the last 2 weeks, because there was plenty of red at Lambeau Field and also at Highmark Stadium, but nothing really beats being at home. I think that's just going to be a huge morale boost for the Niners, who really appreciate all the fan cheers and just the support that the faithful offer. So yeah, home field advantage is going to be a really nice bonus to this week 14 game against the Bears.
Nice. We're hunkering down and getting ready for the Chicago Bears on December 8th at Levi Stadium. But faithful, that will do it for today. Subscribe to First and 10 presented by Cisco for more 49ers updates and turn on the notifications for any breaking news, Move the Chains episodes. Thanks for tuning in.